The single-seater action continues here on RPM, where reigning Formula Ford Zetec champion George McAlpin faces a stern challenge from the youth of the class. Charlie Donnelly is back after missing the first round.
Well, I've been studying for my leaving cert of late, and it's just been up to my neck in work, and it's just been one thing led to another, and I just didn't get out for the first race. I think I had French orals the day after, so it's just one of those things. You have to be realistic and make sure you get an education before you can go full-time racing nowadays.
It's nice to be back in it now. I have to say I've been struggling initially because I more or less had a year off with driving the Striker last year, and it's hard just to get back in at this level of competition, you know, but I think I've done it now because I'm effectively on pole there, because Charlie's on new tyres and I'm the nearest to him of everyone else. He's a bit out of sync with us, so I'm happy with that.
And indeed, Charlie Donnelly is on pole position, but a lot of wheel spin letting Paul Dagg up beside him as they make the drag for what is the real first corner. It's a sharp right-hander, Dwyer there in third place, and who's going to make it into fourth as they all come down. Nice easy braking there from Donnelly. He's on a tied-in road, so Dagg will get a good slingshot out, but Dwyer nearly getting up alongside Dagg, so it's still Dwyer in third, and it's Ferguson, the return he has made it up into fourth.
John Ferguson in fourth, but that's Charlie Donnelly, who's just managed to make the most of his pole position, smoking them up off the start line. Looked as if Alan Dwyer might have been slightly hampered by that, had to lift. He made a great start, but at least he slotted into third.
And the reigning champion really back there, George McAlpin, struggling a little bit with the new car, but look at Dagg, that outside line. Donnelly just moving out a little bit. They're not bumping and boring. We've seen this move many times at this hairpin, where you go down the outside, brake a little earlier, then try and come across the back. But Charlie Donnelly that time, nothing in it. There's a car length there, but you'll see Paul in that fresh air. There's a little ball of air at the back of that which will suck him in. He's out the outside, which should be the quickest line, and sitting in the background, Alan Dwyer not really capitalising on this. He should be right up there, left and right, just in case one of them make a mistake as they head for the chicane.
Paul Dagg, a very experienced single-seater man. He's won the championship in Formula Ford Zetec before. He's also been a front runner and a race winner in Formula Europa, and that looks as if it was Stephen M. Daly off there at Colonial as they worked their way. A big mistake from him. Meanwhile, up front, Charlie Donnelly managing to hold off, not as experienced as the man behind him in this beautiful HP Dennis prepared car. Charlie Donnelly in his Damien Doherty Motorsport car is just managing to hang on ahead, and these two drawing out, eking out something of an advantage over third place man Alan Dwyer.
Charlie's dictating it up the front there, and the two motor dealers, the Des Donnelly Motor Company and HB Dennis, the two of them battling out. Des, daddy of Charlie, would love to see his man. I'm sure HB Dennis would love to see Paul do it. Whoa, that's Ferguson, I think, yes. Number 15 there. Well, he won't get a penalty for that because all he's done is lost about 5 places, so it's a quick early to go off. We're back with the lead battle, and they're as close as they ever were. Now watch, if you watch this camera shot we stage, you'll see Paul Dagg wave a bit, and then he slowly moves out to the outside. Now Donnelly brings him in deep, then brakes early, turns it in tight. Now no matter what Paul Dagg can do, he's not going to get across the back from him.
Incredibly impressive Charlie Donnelly. As he said, he's broken his studies to come up to Kyrgyzstan and show the rest of them, give them a masterclass in Formula Ford Zetec racing. Just 18 years old, as you say, son of Des Donnelly, former Formula Atlantic racer of some note, and he certainly didn't lick it off the road. He knows how to race, this young lad who's racing in Britain this year in the Formula Ford Zetec Junior Series.
Yeah, again, Paul out to the outside to try and get shot, and he's really on his tail. Dwyer alone, they raced there in third, and we have a returnee, Joey Green, and down in the pack there somewhere. Let's hope he doesn't come to grief, but again, a good exit there. But no matter what Paul does down the straight, you'll see him again moving over to the left. No sense in going down the right because Charlie has it down to a T. Now, braking early, a lock up there from Paul. You can hear him loud pedal on the right foot, and he's just getting out. He might blow it one time, but not this time.
Left and right goes Paul Dagg. There's nothing he can do about this. Charlie Donnelly cool as a cucumber as we move ahead, and still the same situation prevails. And how can Charlie Donnelly sustain this sort of pressure for this length of time? Paul Dagg knows how to race, knows how to overtake, and yet Charlie Donnelly, corner after corner, lap after lap, is keeping this guy behind him. A Leinster Trophy winner, remember, and yet Paul Dagg can do nothing about Charlie Donnelly. And watch Charlie Donnelly across the curbs through the chicane here, incredibly impressive. And a little twitch there from Paul Dagg. He didn't quite manage to follow Charlie Donnelly's gearbox through there, and there's not a lot he can do about it as they head down to the hairpin. Meanwhile, that looks like Mike Klein from Craughwell in Galway getting it all wrong with his ageing Van Diemen there. And there is the aforementioned Joey Greenan, the man who led Senna, still a strong competitor, well into his 50s, but struggling a bit there at Fishman's.
Charlie got it all right there at the hairpin once again. He has that couple of car lengths, but the great thing is, well, it's not a great thing, but when you're in the lead, people think, you know, it's hard. It is hard to lead, but he's dictating it by driving those lines. And if Paul Dagg was a dirty driver, he could try and dive up the inside at the hairpin, take a wheel off and struggle over the line. But these two boys are at it. It's up to whoever makes a mistake. If Charlie puts a wheel out too far, Paul will be all over the back of him. So it is at the moment 1 to Charlie Donnelly, but remember we've a second one coming up now. Dagg making a long dive. He decided he would come from behind, followed him straight through to see would he get the drag, maybe as another corner of mind.
You talk about defensive tactics. Charlie Donnelly just puts a wheel on the dirt there. But I mean, Alan Dwyer in third place and George McAlpin in fourth place would like to be able to turn these sort of lap times while driving a defensive line. Incredibly impressive here from Donnelly and Dagg as they draw away from the field while racing.
Yeah, Dwyer obviously a problem with the car because these two would be slowing each other down slightly. Now Paul would get the old draft down the back straight, and that you can see he goes out wide, comes in. Charlie has it turned in nice, and again a little weave. That's only a dummy. He has no chance of getting by there unless he's got 6 gears in the box. But this launching himself at the curb there, and unfortunately Paul was unsighted there and made a slight mistake, so Charlie got away with a mistake, and so had Paul. Oh, is that our man Greenan in the background? I hope not. Ferguson, how do you do? Back in the saddle.
John Ferguson and John Gunning getting it together there up at Fisherman's, and certainly in the water splash and be a bit of a mucky walk out of their cars away from that there. Now they're out of contention. Meanwhile, there's Charlie Donnelly going up to the flag, arm raised in victory. He's the winner from Paul Dagg, miles ahead of Alan Dwyer in third place, who's chased home by George McAlpin.
The 2002 Ford of Ireland Championship has been between Drogheda's Paul Dagg and Cork's Alan Dwyer. Dagg had high ambitions in motor racing, but reality is set in the former Zetec champion.
I think realisation has set in over the years that, you know, there's an elite 22 people that make it, and the rest of us have to just do it for fun, and that's what I'm doing it for now, and enjoying myself anyway.
Alan Dwyer already has 2 wins under his belt this year, but a change of car has brought him even better fortune.
I usually drive a 99 Swift. My first outing in this was last week. It's a 2001 Van Diemen, and you know, I got it off to a good start. I had a win last week and should have won the second one, but driver error, and hopefully we'll have another good result this weekend.
Charlie Donnelly's year has been interrupted with his studies, but the Kildare driver has big dreams in motor racing.
The ultimate goal is F1, but my eyes are open to every opportunity that comes along the way, and I'm just looking forward to keeping on the season and winning the championship.
Man to put it on the pole position is George McAlpin with Paul beside him. Then we've Charlie Donnelly, and then we've Alan Dwyer. But George, happy with the car, seems to get bogged down. Look at the start from John Gunning up the inside in the other black car. That's a Vector. But Dwyer from the second row has caught them all napping. Obviously got plenty of grip. McAlpin now in second, and Dagg is in third place. But look already, little yellow man from Cork, Dwyer engineering car out to the gap, and Daly, that is Derek M. Daly just getting together, I think, with John Gunning, and he's right back at the end. This is going to make life very, very hard for him as they stream came out to turn 3 and then back into the S's. And look, Dwyer already 5 carlings.
And it's a long race, international circuit, very tricky conditions, a little bit of a chance of making back time, but already Charlie Donnelly off there. And there's another one, Klein, is it off?
Yeah, Klein is actually beached. Well, he looks as if he's beached. You can see just the centre of the car. Now, that might bring out a safety car with the marshals, brave marshals at Mygale, but you can see that's his son there in the red and white car. Our first spinner, Derek M. Daly's son, Stephen. Second place man there, George, still not getting the same. Oh, and he just cannot get this car to handle in the damp. They've changed the car since practice this morning, and you can see he went the wrong way because it's Dwyer still with that huge lead. Paul Dagg up into that second place, but look at George McAlpin now under pressure from George gunning, and in the background there, young Stephen Daly gunning out wide to try and get that inside tight line, the slingshot. Unfortunately for George, this car just not working. They're all over the back from it. This is playing into the hands of Dwyer and Paul Dagg. Out again, he just gets that understeer, and I think it's only a matter of time, Alan.
And the battle is now for third, and there's George McAlpin slipping through in this year's Mygale French-built car. Not the best chassis, they say, at the moment. The Vector goes through, and then it's another Mygale. But oh, bad luck there for Dwyer because of this beached car. That means it's all closed up again under the red flag behind the pace car, and Dwyer's going to have to do it all again right now.
Lights out on the pace car as they come up the hill, and you can see Dagg is used to this sort of thing right on the gearbox. And John gunning, then George McAlpin, Stephen Daly, but let's see, can Dwyer bury it at the right time? No wheel spin, he does, but so does Dagg. The two of them are staying neck and neck as they go down to that first corner, and gunning sitting in the background waiting to see will anything happen. It's hard to get really back on form. You're after doing 3 laps at a slow rate. You're trying to keep your tyres together, your brakes together, but Dagg at the moment has lit it up. He's trying to get away from gunning, and he's back on the tail of Dwyer.
Dagg, who ran with one of the big teams when he was Zetec champion formerly, now back running his own team and doing it very privately, and of course leading the championship, gunning very impressive there in third place, and McAlpin just struggling with no setup at all in the wet. It's a disaster for the Remor driver.
And we could see in the background another yellow car, and believe it or not, that is Derek M. Daly, our first spinner, and the white car in the background is young Charlie Donnelly, who's got himself out of the sand that time and the gravel, while number 29 was beached, and of course the pace car helped it all, and they're all closing up. Dwyer still from Dagg as they head out into the country. This is one place you can lose time by just going in that little deep on the brakes, as we saw George McAlpin do, and understeer off. Gunning still in third, and an unusual car, the Vector, not many sold over here. Obviously works well in the wet. It's slightly wider track, or it looks wider, but that in the background is George McAlpin now under pressure from young Stephen Daly. So George not having a good day in the kitchen today.
3 different mix of cars out front. Van Diemen leading Mygale, the French-built car, in second place, and the Vector in third place. Very wide, as you can see, very spindly suspension, but obviously working extremely well here today.
And these 3 not getting away from each other. It's treacherous condition, not exactly steaming with rain, but you've got a little bit of standing water here and there, so you've got to be careful. As I said, with quick shot in the background, the other yellow car, a flying Derek M. Daly. This is the veteran racer just about to catch his son, and the white one in the background, Charlie Donnelly. So these 2 have been off, and the pace car plus the weather, it's playing into their hands. They are flying at the moment. Young Daly wants to get by George McAlpin because he doesn't want to have to fight with his dad.
Now McAlpin in big trouble again, and there's Daly just shadowing him, just on his back wheel, trying to get down the inside. But father, very, very experienced indeed. He's the Mygale agent in Ireland, and he knows exactly how to set these things up. He might have taken a bit of a gamble with the wet setting, but it's certainly working at the moment. Now, young son, get out of my way, let me at him.
No team orders in this household, Dad. If you want the place, you take it. Meanwhile, the man up the front getting a a little bit of a breather. These three haven't really put each other under pressure. They're staying the same gap, but this is where it's all happening. You see George is struggling, but he's holding them all up. You've Stephen, then Dad, Derek, and meanwhile Charlie Donnelly says, I'm going to have to take a slice of this action. He's very much involved in the championship, as you know, and he's having a comeback or a catch-up season. Watch and let's see, does he make a move out through George. There's Derek. Oh, and he gets Stephen out wide. A wheel on the grass, and well done, Stephen. Held on to it there, but a lot of dirt being kicked up. And meanwhile, Dad gets down the inside of George. But is George going to come back? He is. I'll have that piece back, he says. All in a row. But look, Donnelly down the inside. A super run out of that corner. Dives to the outside, and Stephen's going to have a run down the outside.
And Stephen's left is breaking. Two ladies up on top of Charlie Donnelly's car. That's a nasty looking accident. And Charlie Donnelly, let's be honest, Brian, is a lucky boy.
I think the roll bar here has worked. It's caught in the back suspension. I'm not sure, Steve. We're going to show you that again in slow motion. One not happy bunny as Charlie, but let me put it this way. I don't believe for a minute that was intentional. He came out from the inside line. I would say Stephen didn't see him. He thought he might have stayed on the inside. That's where you see it there. He's come through. He's out in the middle of the road. Stephen locks a wheel, and once he locks that wheel, he's a passenger.
He's desperately late on the brakes, though, here you can say. He's way beyond his braking distance. It really is a mistake there by Daly. But Charlie Donnelly, you'll see when he gets out, he's got that shamrock on the top of his helmet, and that certainly was a lucky shamrock today.
Yes, the roll bar played its part, and I have a funny feeling we may have another pace car situation, because the way those two cars are, they're sitting on the top. The lads aren't telling each other how much, they love each other at the moment. It's a matter of opinion. When things cool down, there we go. Pace car's just finished its lap. They've moved those two cars, we hope, and we're back racing. Third start for Dwyer.
I mean, he really has. This is good practice if he ever goes to race in the States under yellows. But he's under big pressure, of course. It's Dagg's big opportunity to get past again, and it's everybody else's opportunity because they can all close up.
Yes, that pace car coming out is making the most interesting Zetec race. Dwyer pussyfooting in. The yellow's still there, so the cars must be in the situ. So they've taken one out, maybe left one buried in the sand. So as the boys get through, you can't pass there. You've lost your nose, George. Maybe that'll help the handling, because he's tried everything else and it hasn't. But he's back and forth at the moment. Still Dwyer from Dagg. That's one man that was beached earlier on. You can see the space is not increasing or decreasing, but the one man that's on the chart is Daddy Daly.
Daddy Daly, who is in the dirt, remember, on the very first lap. It's an incredible comeback. If I were out there at the moment, I wouldn't mind having a Van Diemen, and I wouldn't mind having number 11, the older of the Mygales. But the newer the Mygales are not coping very well with these conditions.
We can see just how well the older one works of Derek M. Daly compared to the one of George McAlpin, but Dwyer in his 2001 Van Diemen at the moment has enough car lengths on these two. Dagg just coming down easy on the brakes, and look at that, the older one just passes the newer one. Will he hold on to it? He can indeed. It's well set up for these conditions and just floors it out of there. Now, can he catch Alan Dwyer?
Well, he's certainly flying at the moment. He's got to be the fastest man out there. This car is just perfectly set up, as Brian says. He's driving it hard too. It's twitching all over the place, as you can see. But Derek M. Daly, who's got millions of racing miles under his belt, is going for it. The veteran is loving every moment. Our cameras are fogged up. The conditions are terrible. Daly has run out of time. Dagg is thinking of a counter-attack, but I don't think it's going to happen. And Derek M. Daly's going to settle for second place here, is he? But it's Alan Dwyer's third victory in the Ford of Ireland Championship.
I don't know what happened really. I just got traction out of nowhere and I made it stick, and I got 3 off the line, so it's opened out a bit of a gap then after that, and just drove from there until a couple of safety cars came out, and that was it really.
Did the karting help you with the rolling starts, the safety car?
Definitely, yeah. I've been around here I think since I was 9 years old in a cadet kart, so it definitely stood to me today.
You like putting it up to the young fellas, don't you, Derek?
I think in another couple of laps I could have had Alan, I think. Maybe, you always think that anyway. But yeah, I do. I like to make it hard, yeah.
And what does that do to your championship, Paul?
It should be a reasonable bit of a buffer now. I'll have to look at the points and work it out, but I was leading coming here, so I'm still leading, but I would have extended it slightly, I think.
Alan Dwyer was successful that time, and we were back at Mondello again for the September finale.
On that grid, it was Dwyer from Donnelly. Nothing in it. In fact, both of them posted the same time, but Dwyer did it sooner. In the background, you can see wheel spin again from Donnelly. Doesn't get the greatest jump off the line, but Dwyer has this pole position all to himself. Left-hand side there. Previous champion George McAlpin, a little tap on the side to waken up Charlie Donnelly, but he holds that second place.
Little tap there, but will have it affected George McAlpin's handling, the handling of his new Mygale, as we look at Mike Klein going through shot. There's our in-car man, Alan Dwyer, and our race leader behind him, Charlie Donnelly, race winner in England this year, and really keen and eager to do well towards the end of the season, but he's got his mirrors full of George McAlpin. Paul Dagg, our champion, is just behind him, with Derek M. Daly, that stalwart competitor, just behind Dagg.
Yeah, Charlie's got to get his head down. Forget about George, forget about Paul Dagg. He needs to beat Dwyer to get up into second place in the championship. That's what it's all about. Forget the third place man and fourth place man for these two, but they'll have something else to say about it. At the moment, Dwyer driving beautifully, getting right out to the edge and getting that last bit, flying there in the background. But you can see the gap of two. And look at Paul Dagg having a look at George down the outside. That's a long way around that first HB bend.
Terrific scrap here for third place. So Dwyer in first place, Donnelly also stretching out, but George McAlpin defending manfully in third place. His Mygale, remember, is 2 years younger than Paul Dagg's, but perhaps it's not handling so well. He has struggled this year. He has been getting it to handle a little bit better in the last few races, but Paul Dagg has managed to win the championship. 3 wins so far this year. Will he be able to make it a fourth? It's difficult enough from fourth place, especially when you've got George McAlpin ahead of you.
And sitting in the background, the daddy of them all, Derek M. Daly, and yet another McAlpin. Oh, that, believe it or not, is Noel Dunn, having a little guest right there, a little guest nudge. Number 27 with Alan Kelly, number 7 ahead of him. Meanwhile, back with this battle for third place, and watch it there. George doing everything right, and as I said, sitting in the background, the daddy of them all, Derek M, waiting on the last to fall off. We're on board with the leader again, looking out the back. Charlie Donnelly in the background. We're jumping ahead a lap or two. They're down the main straight, but you can see that Dwyer really got the head down. He's pulling a few car lengths, and Daly having a look again. He hasn't given up. He thinks that place is his. Third place could be Derek Daly's.
And Daly locking up as he went into the final turn, but there's Dagg, and he was smoking it up at himself on the way exit of that turn. He tries down the outside, mano a mano, level with George McAlpin. He's never going to make that stick, and George runs out to the exit, a little bit twitched there from Paul Dagg, and really he's going to have to work to find a way past George McAlpin. Difficult to see how he can do it, but we know that Paul Dagg is exceptional around this track, and he won't give up trying. Meanwhile, a little bit further up, and we see that Charlie Donnelly has more or less got on terms with Alan Dwyer, but Alan Dwyer, a doughty competitor here at Mondello.
It's like good old Zetec racing. The good old boys are here having a good wheel banging match, and he hasn't given up, Dagg. Even though he doesn't have to win, he doesn't have to do anything. He's a new champion, but he don't sprout on a high note. And in the background, Derek Daly will always be there, picking up these pieces. Very nearly won the last one. Up front, Dwyer coming under pressure from Donnelly, but Dagg showing that he can get down that outside line. Can he outbrake him? He's further ahead than he was, but it's a long way again around the outside.
Dagg's front wheels were ahead of Dagg's rear wheels were right level with McAlpin's front wheels, but they didn't manage to make it stick, and Derek M. Daly has got ahead. A fantastic performance. He was shaking his head after Dunlop corner on the previous lap, but coming down into turn 1, Hewlett Packard and Derek M. Daly into fourth place. A tremendous performance. He's been around a long time. He's raced an awful lot of Formula Ford cars, Derek M. Daly, and he hasn't forgotten what he's learned.
I know exactly what George McAlpin's saying. He's saying, oh, Dagg was bad enough, but now we've got Daly and Dagg having a look. He'll have to he had his chance to get his head down and put a few car lengths. Into that gap he goes. You can see that he has 1 or 2 there, but Dagg beginning to swarm on the back of Derek M. That might just slow him a little and let him a little bit of understeer straight into oversteer, but Dagg just tucking in. Is he looking at that inside line? He is indeed. George right out to the right to get the quick line, and Dagg is through.
Derek M. again Sheehan wasn't happy with his exit from Dunlop Corner, shaking his head, and that allowed Dagg to get down the inside. He got a run at him, and Derek wasn't about to over-defend that or defend it too robustly. Meanwhile, Mark Sheehan, in his debut year in Formula Ford Zetec, has managed to tag onto this group. Great performance, showing increased performance this year from the youngster, and he'll be delighted to be running with such experienced competitors. This, of course, has allowed George McAlpin to eke out a bit of an advantage in third place. I was worried that George's the handling might be a bit off after that first corner touch with Charlie Donnelly, but he's managed to scrabble ahead of this group as we look ahead. And there's Alan Dwyer, who looks serenely really in the lead. He's just got a small advantage over Charlie Donnelly, just a couple of seconds, but it's enough to allow him to take a racing line at each corner and really concentrate on his lapping, on his lap times, and not just on defending.
Yeah, which again you can see Derek M. Daly there behind Dagg, and Sheehan, who's putting up a great show, run by Wayne Douglas, our past Formula Opel champion. He's passing all the goods. Lovely driving there from Dwyer straight to, doesn't dwell over the ripples too much. Again, look at Sheehan trying the long, that's the sign of inexperience. Derek M bringing him in as deep as he can and then gets them all locked up. Through goes George, then Paul, but Sheehan right on the gearbox now, Derek M, and he could put him away and would deserve to. A good young driver.
Indeed, Sheehan will really want to make something of this. A great opportunity for him. And as we look ahead, it looks as if he's got by Derek M. Daly. Tremendous performance down into turn 3. Derek Daly has gone from 4th to 6th in as many laps, but it all goes wrong for Mark Sheehan. Tremendous performance, but he just couldn't make it stick as he came down into the S's, and you can see just how disappointed he is.
Well, sponsored by Mr. Binman, he's in the kitty litter at the moment. I think he just got caught when he popped it down the gear. Little bit of oil would have sent him on his way. Again, lack of experience, but his day will definitely come. Meanwhile, I think it's going to be this man's day. I don't think Charlie can catch young Dwyer. This is a great little team. Pat the Daddy is the family engineering company. Gets his head down. Change that Sheehan there. You can see no granddad. Oh, don't get excited. You did it all on your own, but it looks good for television.
Well, if it doesn't matter, it ain't worth doing, and certainly Mark Sheehan will live to fight another day. He'll be looking forward to next season. As we look at Paul Dagg down the outside into turn 1 on lap 14, Dwyer, of course, and Donnelly further ahead. McAlpin and now has his mirrors full of Paul Dagg, with Derek M. Daly a little way behind now. But this is the battle we're looking for, the battle for third place. And Paul Dagg, he's won the championship. This is just for fun, but I tell you, this matters as much as any race win this year.
But George looked in his mirror when he saw Paul fighting with Derek M and then young Sheehan getting involved. He thought, this is grand. Handy third place, long drive home to Portrush. All of a sudden Dagg is all over his gearbox again, and no better man to defend, but he's not as happy with this brand new car. Tried to buy his old one back and the man wouldn't sell it to him, so he's up there, but looking at that inside line, Dagg just wouldn't be as late on the brakes as he needs to be. But George will drive to the best of that car's ability, and that's all he can do.
Dagg switching left and right as he went down on the brakes into Dunlop Corner, but that's not going to faze George. He knows most of it's bluffing, really. Oh, left and right again from Dagg. You can see renewed determination now from the Drogheda man. He drops back a little bit there. He's going to make a quick exit from turn 1 into Evening Herald Corner, and George McAlpin really has to be extra smooth. He's desperately concentrating to try and keep this man behind him. Terrific stuff. Great racing, great single-seater racing in the old style as we know it.
Out into turn 3, the quickest part of the circuit, down into second gear as they exit, right up over the curbs, over the hill, and seems to get a good drag there, Paul, as the car set up well for that. But again, George just snaps the nose off and coming into Sport for Ireland Corner. Second part of the S's, he can pull a car length here, but then on the brakes up the hill, Paul will have a run. George making him go the long way round, and it is a long way round. Boot to the board there. Now, will he get that dip up the inside? No. George has it closed, and it's hard to get around the outside of Hewlett, as we say, but he's driving it as he has to. He's got to keep this third place, and he wants it.
George McAlpin, of course, the reigning Formula Ford Zetec champion, the Ford of Ireland champion. Behind him he's got Paul Dagg. Of course, he's just won the championship, the champion-elect, his second Ford of Ireland Formula Ford Series, and he's really hanging it out through turn 2. Fantastic performance. Dagg, of course, a Dunlop Sexton Championship winner, and also, of course, he was the Leinster Trophy winner in 2000 season, so plenty of trophies between these two competitors. They know how to race, they know how to win. Okay, this is just for third place, but this really matters.
10 out of 10 to Paul. He tried down the outside there. He thought, if I get locked up early, I'll try it. He's looking at the second part of the Estes, believe it or not, when he's going through there. But George is having none of it. But very quick and very brave. And that's our winner. Dwyer takes the checkered flag with 5 car lengths on Charlie Donnelly, who will be third. Money on George. It's a long way round the outside. Turns it in, just clips the apex. Buries it in second, into third. He's going to have to hop over him, but it's close going for the line.
Who's it going to be? Side by side as they go across the line. It's Paul Dagg that just pips George McAlpin after a tremendous 15 laps of action.